continuing coverage coming up at the bottom of the hour. Bulletins at 1. News Radio, WTAM 1100.
Well, tragedy has again struck the beleaguered Medina County Fair. Last year, E. coli. This year, a 100-year-old steam engine exploded. Say 3 people were killed, dozens injured. We've had phone calls off the air from folks that were concerned, that had friends or relatives at the fair and had not heard from them yet, and were worried. If you were at the fair, I'd like to hear from you. If you were at the fairgrounds, 216-578-1100, or toll-free, 888-723-WTAM. Officials don't know what caused this. 2 of the people killed were close to the engine. Another was found 30 feet away. They don't know if that person was thrown by the explosion. Something's always happening, huh? And to help explain that to us is my good friend Jerry, my Icelandic plumber friend, who, by the way, ladies, is available. And you're qualified to explain what happened out there at the Medina County Fairgrounds?
Well, I'm not really sure other than what I've heard, but I'm qualified to tell you the reason why things happen like that.
Okay, and what are your qualifications?
Well, I'm a plumber by trade, and I also have an engineering degree from Westside Institute of Technology.
All right, and you were explaining to me before the program, and please explain it again for the listeners, what exactly happens and how water boils and how it changes when it's under pressure and that sort of thing. The floor is yours.
Okay, well, basically at sea level, water boils at 212 degrees, and when it changes from a liquid to a gas, which is to steam, it's called a change of state. That's right at 212 degrees, unless you put it in a sealed vessel. The second you put it into a sealed vessel, you could have 200, 300, 400 degree water. It depends on how strong the vessel that's holding the water is.
And
because
that would be what a steam engine would be, more or less, a sealed vessel? Yeah,
and then of course they harness the energy by releasing small amounts of the steam to run whatever components on the engine that they need to run. You understand?
Yes, I understand.
And so now every time that the water is actually safe, the water is it's in a sealed vessel, it's at 220 degrees, and of course the pressure increases inside the vessel. Now anytime that you do this, the vessel has to be able to hold that pressure, okay?
All right.
The second that the pressure exceeds the vessel's capability of holding it, it'll rupture the vessel. And at that point, each drop of water approximately expands 40 times its mass when it turns to steam, which is instantaneously. So all of a sudden, if you have something the size of a can of oil, it'll be 40 times that size instantaneously. Now, of course, if the bottom of the vessel blows out, then it'll shoot the whole top, be it a hot water tank, a boiler, whatever. It'll go up. If it splits out the side, it'll shoot it out. If there's anything left of the vessel that it was in.
This is why we hear stories of faulty hot water heaters in basements blowing out right through the roof of the house.
Yeah.
It's possible. It happens occasionally.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the hot water tanks, they generally wear out more along the bottoms where the flame is sitting on the tank, and it'll rupture there because that's where it's more worn.
So what you're saying then is if you had, say, 10 gallons of water inside a steam engine, once it hits atmosphere, because it's being held at boiling at a higher temperature than what it would be.
Right. We don't know what the temperature would be in there. Apparently they had some kind of faulty gauges or something. So whatever the temperature might have been, it could have been 220, it could have been 250, 300, it doesn't matter. And then the pressure itself is greatly increased. So the higher it's proportionate to every degree that it's higher.
So for example, if you had 10 gallons of water, now when all this expands 40, you would all of a sudden have 10 gallons of water that is trying to move the occupied vessel out to hold 400 gallons of water.
Well, in mass.
In mass, yes, yeah, because it turns instantly to steam. So it's trying to blow what's holding it apart with 400 times the amount that would be, 40 times the amount, I should say, that what would be in there.
Exactly. And it'll do it instantaneous. It'll flash. And there's no trying. It just does it. If there's a rupture in the vessel, it doesn't. There's no trying doing it. It just happens instantaneously.
So this sounds like a bomb going off.
Well, primarily that's exactly what it is.
They claim there were folks that heard this explosion in Medina as far as somebody claimed Pittsburgh. Somebody heard this explosion. I didn't hear anything, but
well, I mean, depending on how this thing is set up and where the rupture went, where it blew out, you could have set something the size of a locomotive could have shot a half mile in the air.
Wow.
You know, it would be like a propulsion out through the hole was in the bottom or something. If there's anything left of the vessel once it goes, because it just flashes and that's all there is to it.
Well, the fire chief out there in Medina, Bill Hurtnick, says the explosion gave off steam, hot oil, and shrapnel, which was found about 100 yards away.
Well, of course. Well, you got to understand this. Wherever it leaked out, wherever it went, I went out the weakest point inside of the steam engine, wherever it was holding, went out the weakest point, be it whether there was something threaded in or a gauge went in, or it doesn't matter, or seam, or where it was welded or riveted or whatever they do with these things. Wherever that goes out, it just goes and it just blows it all apart, and they'll find pieces of everything all over the place.
And like you say, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. When this thing's going to blow up, that's it. It's doing it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just a matter of physics. It's the water sitting in there at 250 degrees, and the second it hits atmospheric pressure and just normal pressure, it's instantly turning to steam. Instantly. And that's just the way it is. Of course, when you go at sea level, the boiling point of water changes and things, but right here when you go above sea level, but right here at sea level, 212, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jerry.
Oh, you're welcome. You know, I am very sorry about the families that lost people out there. It's a tragic thing. And again, they've had problems 2 years in a row now. The Medina County Fairgrounds. And these people are there's all these enthusiasts, and they're trying to keep things going. And I love the history and looking at these things out there, but you have to realize it's dangerous. And when I take my children to places and I see potential things, I worry about keeping them at a safe distance, and everybody else should do that too from now on. We learn this from the fireworks, and everywhere you go to have a good time, people are getting killed, and it's just not right.
We learned this just last week with what happened in Lorain County at the Speedway. Whenever you go to an event like this, you never know. I've just talked about being at tractor pulls where there's engine parts spinning at 6,000 or 7,000 RPM. They have 6 engines on these things. Now, I look at that, and I'm clearly aware, being mechanically inclined, that if a part flew off and hit you, you would be dead.
Absolutely. I mean, anything could happen. I mean, at a hockey game, you know, it doesn't matter.
It can't really stop us from going out and enjoying life, but just be careful, right?
Absolutely. I mean, what are you going to do? Be afraid to cross the street?
There you go.
Just be careful. But see, things like this, there was people that weren't aware of the potential dangers. And you got a couple of guys that are enthusiasts with these steam engines, and they haul these things out to the fairgrounds every year, and they fire them up, and they toot the whistle, and it's all in fun. But in actuality, this thing is sitting there, and it's a bomb sitting right in front of your children, whom from what I understand, when I was at the Lorain County Fair, you were able to walk up and look into at the gauges and stuff on these things. I don't believe I was on them when they were actually running, but they let you climb all over them and inspect what they are, the bit of history. But you're going to let your 5-year-old child climb over a potential bomb?
I guess I certainly would not.
No.
All right. Well, Jerry, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Rick. And you guys have a good night, and I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye. That's my Icelandic plumber friend, Jerry Stringer, who is a plumber and an engineer, trying to explain to us what happened out there at the steam engine at the Medina County Fairgrounds. Channel 3 weather from Mark Nolan tonight. Cloudy 63, currently 74 degrees in Cleveland, 74 degrees. Things like this happen, not all the time, but on a regular enough basis. If you look around, if you look in your world almanac, if you have that, you can look up lists of explosions, disasters. You think of as large a scale as something as the Hindenburg, and as small a scale as something like this that happened. And to those who lost loved ones in an explosion of this magnitude, it certainly is not a small event. Our hearts go out to you. And like I say, if anyone was out there at the fairgrounds, or if you've been at other events, like I say, it's the same thing at tractor pulls. It's the same thing. You could get hit in the head at a baseball game. You could get hit in the face with a hockey puck. You can go to an auto race and have a car jump a guardrail. What are you going to do? You're supposed to live your life in a bubble? I think not.
Rick Gilmore.
Break yourself, fool!
On News Radio WTAM 1100.
I'm checking our cyber vote at WTAM.com. How much beer do you drink on the weekend? 36% say 0. Well, that doesn't sound like much fun, does it? Less than 3, 20%. 6-pack, 9%. 12-pack, 16%. Case, 13%. And keg, 7%. Well, is it possible for one person to drink a keg in an entire weekend? Let's talking about what happened out there in Medina. Yet to hear from anybody who was actually at the fairgrounds when the steam engine exploded. Channel 3 weather from Mark Nolan tonight, low 63. Tomorrow, high of 80. Currently 74 in Cleveland. If you're out on the lake, waves are less than 2 feet. Water temp 72. Not too bad out there. I was pulling off the wire some of the stories that surround this sort of thing. Not the same story, just things that happen in life. I was thinking about a friend of mine had an old Camaro, 71, 72 Camaro. He put a big block 454 Chevy engine in it. And lost the harmonic balancer off the front of the engine. It's this big wheel, not too big, but I don't know, 6 or 7 inches across, made out of cast iron. And he's running down the road, got the thing all wound up, and boing, the thing flew off, and he found it hundreds and hundreds of feet away. It bounced off a tree, took a chunk out of a tree. Hey, stuff happens in life, I guess. I mean, it's bad when somebody gets hurt or killed. Luckily, no one got killed there. How about this story? A 55-year-old Bayside, Wisconsin man recovering today at a Milwaukee hospital after he was severely burned after his charcoal grill flared up. I mean, you never know what the hell's going to happen. Battalion Chief Rick Bakel of the North Shore Fire Department said the man suffered second-degree burns to 20% of his body after he tried to start the grill last night. The man apparently tried to start the fire faster and poured about a pint of fluid, volatile fluid, on the coals. So exactly what that was see, things just happen. Joined on the line by Mike Trevisano.
What the hell happened?
You didn't hear what happened?
No.
I was out there. There was a steam engine out at the Medina County Fairgrounds, and apparently it blew up, and it killed 3 people and injured dozens of others. And I had my plumber friend on, and he explained that when water under pressure turns to steam at the atmosphere, it expands by 40 times its size. So if you had 10 gallons of water, all of a sudden now that it wants to become 400 gallons of volume worth of steam. So it's like a bomb going off.
Did I hear 35 people died?
No. 3 people died.
3 people?
Yes.
There was a report 35 were hurt or something?
Yeah, they vary here, but we know now that 3 were killed, and they say dozens were injured. So dozens could be the 30 people, right?
Were you saying there were little kids on the thing?
That we don't have a confirmation of. That my friend Jerry was saying that he has gone to events like this with his children, and he said sometimes they'll let you approach these steam engines and whatnot while they're running, and he said, would you want your 5-year-old sitting in front of what's potentially a bomb?
Wow. That's a crazy world, ain't it?
Well, it is. You know what it is, too? I mean, it's just a bunch of enthusiasts. They go out there, and they're trying to show you the history of steam and steam engines and that sort of thing, and they're just trying to put on a nice demonstration. But you got to remember that these things are a ticking time bomb. That's why they have gauges on them that have to be watched closely. We've all heard about boiler explosions. Remember well, you don't remember, and I don't remember. We weren't born then, but remember the East Ohio gas explosion that happened here in Cleveland? And
no.
It leveled city blocks. It was back in, I believe, 1944 on the east side. And it just blew up. And all of a sudden, there were just blocks of people gone.
Well, did you ever think about how much gas we're sitting on?
Well, what did you eat?
No, with all the gas underground I'm talking about.
Oh, well, yeah, the whole world is a big bomb waiting to go off.
You know? I mean, they could do some. Hey, before I let you, I just want to know what happened. I just turned the radio on. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, the Medina County again plagued with another problem. Last year, E. coli. This year, a steam engine exploded. Now, actually, the park out there, the event was only opened out there for horse racing today. It wasn't supposed to open until tomorrow for everybody. And the Medina County Fair president, Dave Bertram, said the fair will go on as scheduled.
Hey, did you wash the microphone and spray it with Lysol?
Pardon?
Did you spray that microphone with Lysol?
Why, after David Allen talked into it?
Yeah.
No, I'm not one of those germ freaks.
You may catch BS disease. Did you ever hear of a financial advisor that doesn't use his real name?
Pardon? A financial advisor I know a lot of radio people that don't use their real name.
Can you imagine investing with somebody that doesn't use their real name?
Well, I don't know. I'm not here to badmouth the program that was on before me.
Well, he was badmouthing us.
Was he? Oh, you mean radio people smell bad?
Yeah.
Well, I can say for a fact that I know I don't smell, and I've never had any strange odors come out of you. Now, there are some people who will remain nameless who seem to have a little bit of an odor problem occasionally.
I wonder where David Allen was putting his nose.
I don't know. I'm sitting in the big chair in the studio, and there's a stain on the seat. Now, I'm pointing at it, but I'm not going to touch it. I hope it's coffee, but I'm just not sure.
I mean, I was just sitting there scratching my head. Financial advisor that doesn't use his real name. Now, there's some credibility.
All right. Well, there's a lot of radio people don't use their real... You know, did you ever wish, when you got involved in radio, Mike Trevisano, that you had chosen another name?
You know, in an odd sort of way, I do, only because so people wouldn't know who I really was, you know, because I do get, some phone calls at home and some mail at home. It's easy to find you when they know your name, right?
The problem, though, is that you probably have the same problem I do. I've had people call me on the phone, and we're talking about some completely unrelated thing, and they'll say, "Are you Rick?" Yeah. And I'm like, "Yeah." I had a car in the paper, and they were like, "Are you Rick?"
Well, you know what, though? I'll never forget, and this is the reason I never would change my name, because my father... my father's passed away, and he didn't know that I was going to be on the radio and turn out to be a mega superstar, you know?
Right.
But anyway, he thought my brother was going to win the game of golf, right? And he always used to tell my brother, if you ever change your name, I'll never talk to you again. So out of respect for my father and carrying his name, I would never change my name.
Now, who's the golfer I saw on TV? They were talking about young kids golfing. Michael Trevisano, is that your nephew?
You know, there's like 400 Trevisanos in this city, and there's probably 300 Michael Trevisanos. No, it's no relation.
Oh, no, I didn't realize there were that many Trivs.
No, it's no relation.
Actually, there's a lot of Trevisanos. There's only one Triv, right?
There is I mean, it's unbelievable how popular the name Trevisano is.
I guess. I mean, I'd never known anybody, met anybody, or bumped into anybody until I met you. I mean, I'd heard of you on the radio, but I'd never bumped into any Trevisanos.
Hey, do me a favor.
Yeah.
Spray the microphone. I don't want you to get BS disease following that nitwit.
Where is it?
It's under the counter there.
Okay, yeah, here it is.
See it?
Let me grab it. Yeah. Okay, it's about empty here.
I got to get another can.
Ooh, there we go. Spray it up good.
I used to keep the can there for when Drennan was there because he used to slobber in the mic, you know.
Now, do I have to wipe it off or anything, or do I just?
No. Actually, the Lysol, it's a nice smell.
It actually, yeah, it is kind of a pleasant aroma.
And it'll drip away, and it'll be nice for you.
All right, thanks, Mike.
All right, Rick.
All right, bye-bye. Yeah, well, there. You want to get informed on what's going on? We've somehow segued from the Medina County Fair to I don't know what. I'd look at my clock to see when the news is, but my clock says 99, 59, 99. What the hell is that? Mike the Repo Man, talk to me.
Hey, how you doing?
Great.
I picked up a book on railroad disasters at an antique store one time. It was published in the 50s.
Okay.
I mean, the steam engine killed so many people. It was just amazing. A steam engine on a train in West Virginia. The engine blew up. And you can picture the whole engine from a train lifted in the air and landed on the fourth car back, which was full of people. And it just killed everybody on the train. In Chicago, a steam engine blew up on the turntable when they were turning it around, and killed everybody in the yard. This book had pictures of the shrapnel and what was left of these engines. The largest steam engine that blew up was a 100-ton locomotive that blew up, and it blew a hole in the ground about 50 feet deep.
Wow, so people should keep this in mind when they go to county fairs and these little shows where they have steam engines going, that if something goes wrong, you could get hurt.
You know, I asked the engineer out at Cedar Point, they got that little steam train?
Yeah.
And I go to Cedar Point as often as I can. But, a few years back, I was on there with my kids, and I asked the engineer, and he said that they run at a much reduced pressure from what the engine really can withstand, just for safety. They are powered by steam. I mean, there's no fakery there, but they run at such a reduced pressure that's very low power that it would take a number of failures to cause that thing to explode. Because I'm worried about that kind of stuff. And when I go to any of these fairs and you see these motors sitting around, it's nice to look at when they're on static display, but I don't want to be close to them when they're running.
There you go.
All right.
All right, well, thanks.
Take care.
Yep, you too. I guess you have to be careful out there. What was that? David Allen was on line too? I guess he went away. All right, well, stay tuned for these important words and then coverage of what in the world's happening with our very own Cliff Bakley.
Rick Gilmore.
She gets too hungry for dinner at 8. I offered an hors d'oeuvre. She took the whole plate. I told her don't swim till after an hour she ate. That's how the lady, she got cramps.
On News Radio WTAM 1100.
That's a big hit at karaoke bars, I'll tell you that. Hey, tomorrow on Wills, Webster, and Coleman, well, guess what's going on? Bob Becker's in for vacationing Bill Wills. There's going to be guests including Steve Roberts with the latest on Congressman Condit and Chandra Levy, who's got to be out of the country by now. How could they not find her by now? I think somebody ran her through a wood chipper and sprayed her out over the bay. Tom Hamilton on the Tiger Series and Gene Hensler on Your Money. Wake up informed with the big one. Now, who's this on the hotline? David Allen? Hello?
Rick Gilmore.
Yes, sir.
I hear that of discussion on your broadcast this evening.
Yeah, we're all going to get phone calls tomorrow from my program director saying, we ought to put you guys in a steel cage, have a steel cage match, you and Mike Trevisano.
I think, first of all, he would lose very badly, and it'd have to be a big steel cage to fit his ass in it.
Wow. Them's fighting words, David, and that's not your real last name, Allen?
If he had the balls he says he does, he'd call my show and complain about me, but...
Maybe he's busy.
Maybe he just had him in his hand or something.
Well, he likes listening to my program. Maybe he doesn't listen to your program. Maybe he
must have listened.
Maybe he goes out of his way to listen to my program.
He probably does, because it's the only shot he's got at hearing good radio.
His wife, Linda...
He doesn't listen to my program, that is.
His wife, Linda, says that they can be driving around in the car, and they'll go in the house, and Mike's gone. She has to go look for him, and he's in listening to me on the radio.
Really?
Well,
he must have lost a bet or something.
You know, I am the official broadcaster of the new millennium, and Joe Tate's favorite broadcaster as well.
I did not know that.
Joe Tate said, where's that Gilly guy? He wants to hear Gilly.
Was that after the car accident? Because he hasn't been the same since then, you know.
No, it was after a Cavs game. I wasn't aware he was in a car. Was he in a car accident?
Oh, Joe Tate. No, not Joe Tate. It's the Herb Score.
No, Herb Score, I don't know what he's doing nowadays.
Well, it seems odd that he would call and complain about little old David Allen when he's so popular and everything. You'd think he'd have something better to do with his time.
Well, he just wanted to make sure I got this microphone all sprayed up good.
You should, because I have been ill lately, so you should clean it off.
Is it that bronchitis thing that's going around?
Well, you know what?
Were you coughing up? Were you coughing up financial phlegm?
Financial phlegm. That's it. Exactly.
Okay. Well, I mean, you know, that's what I had. I caught some illness when I was away on my cruise, and it lasted a couple of weeks. Some viral thing where you're coughing all the time, and finally it went away.
That's probably because you were around all those foreigners.
Well, it could be. I had that rocker-like attitude. I was thinking, I don't much like foreign people. Now I'm thinking about with this explosion out at Medina County Fairgrounds, there's something more to worry about when you take your kids or you go out to a fair. Now, see, last year everybody got the poops. Everybody got the runs from the E. coli. Now, this year, people are getting killed in an accident. What's going to happen next year? What's the attendance going to be like at the Medina County Fairground next year?
I don't know, but I'll tell you what. If you didn't have stuff to worry about before, you sure do now.
Well, there's always something to worry about. People worry about, they say, coffee's bad for you. There's mercury in the fish. Everybody knows cigarettes are not good for you, even though they used to tell you they were good for you, but they're not good for you anymore. So don't eat too much red meat because your cholesterol will go up. Then there's people I know that go on protein diets, and that's all they eat is red meat. Oh, what's their cholesterol like?
Well, I know. I got one thing I don't have to worry about.
What's that?
And that's Mike Tripisano ever being right about anything.
I'm going to go now.
You don't have to worry about that.
I cut you off. If Mike were here, I did that for you, Mike Trivisano. Heard weekdays at 3 here on the big one. I did that for you, my brother. If I only had cut him off in mid-sentence, would have been better. And his name's Trivisano with a V, not Tripisano. Please, get the name right. It's his real one, you know. So's mine. Channel 3 weather from Mark Nolan. Tonight, cloudy, low 63, currently 74. Now let's look ahead, shall we? A little tomorrow, sunny, 80. Tuesday, cloudy, 85. Sounds like, it's just like wintertime. You know how weather works? It goes up, up, up. It gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and then it rains. Like in the wintertime, we have snow. It's a little warmer, gets up to 34, and then it snows, and then it gets cold, and it stops snowfall. Weather's just, I mean, people think weather's so damn difficult to figure out. It is when it's severe, because we want to know what's going on. That's why we have Channel 3 weather and traffic together in the 10s during Willswip's, during Coleman, and during Mike Trivisano's program, because I'll tell you, and I did it again. I got stuck in a traffic jam because I was listening to music. Eventually, I will learn my lesson. I tuned around. I don't know what see, I'm one of them radio freak kind of guys. I'm not like a regular listener because I'm involved in the business. I like to listen around and see what's going on. So, among other stories, I was reading you the one about the guy in the grilling accident in Milwaukee. The man inhaled, apparently. If the man had inhaled when it happened, he could have had severe burns in his lungs. If his eyes had been open, he could have lost his eyes. A buddy of mine did that once with one of those old gas grills. You know, the gas line runs outside to the patio from the house. It's an actual natural gas grill. And it ties into your gas line in your house, that kind of thing. And he turns it on, and he's trying to light it, and he's trying to light it, and he's got the lid down. So none of the gas is dissipating. Finally, he gets a match lit and gets in there, and ba-boom! And I mean, it broke the hinges on the cast iron lid and blew the lid off of the top of the grill. Something else to worry about. Nobody got hurt. See, when it comes to worrying about stuff, I think of what my 4th grade teacher, Miss Jameson, said. Miss Jameson, I don't even know what your married name is now. She taught at Parkview School back in the 70s, and she had to leave in the middle of 4th grade because she was preggers. She got knocked up by her husband, I guess. I don't remember what happened, whether she changed her name when she got married, or maybe that was her married name. Very important line that she told me that I've remembered throughout my days here. Worry is like a rocking chair. You can do it all you want, but it won't get you anywhere. And that's the truth. That's the absolute truth. Right, Ted in Lakewood?
Yes, this is Nathaniel.
Oh, it's that creepy Ted again.
Well, thank you for the compliment.
You have to admit, you are not normal.
I am exceptional.
Well, I don't know about that. See, exceptional implies that you're better than normal.
I am better than 99.9% of the population. I'm intellectually superior to 99.9% of the population.
Have you been tested?
Have I been tested? Well, actually, yes. My IQ is 128.
I've got you beat.
Okay.
Mine's 135, so I'm smarter than you are.
And only 3% of the population has an IQ of 120 and above. So I'm definitely somewhere in the top 1 or 2%.
I hate percentages, but are you certain about that? I mean, are you telling me that we live in a world of so many dumb people?
Yeah, especially here in the United States.
Oh, I thought you were going to say here in Cleveland.
Well, here in Cleveland, we reached the third word level in terms of intelligence. But
I think that people in Cleveland, a lot of folks have what's uncommon, and that's a lot of common sense. I do see people that have a lot of common sense, and a lot of people that have street smarts in Cleveland. And then folks...
Yeah, because they're crooks.
That's not true.
I mean,
let me put it this way. People badmouth... I've heard people badmouth Mike Trevisano, and they say, well, listen to him talk. He talks like a regular guy. I mean, most regular guys talk like him. They don't say speaks like a regular person. They talks like a regular guy.
But, this Nathaniel Brazil case is really interesting because...
How did that come up?
Well, this is what I want to talk about. This guy sentenced to 25 years or whatever.
24 years, yeah.
24.
Yeah, he'll be 41, I think, by the time he gets out.
Now, a lot of people in this country believe that, these kids who commit crimes at 13 or 14...
The kid who shot his teacher.
Yeah, that, they're capable of making adult decisions in terms of murder and crime. But when it comes to having sex with adults, they can't do it. They can't give informed consent. But, of course, if they commit a crime, then they can be judged to be capable of making an adult decision.
Why, were you interested in having sex with Nathaniel Brazil?
No, I just want to point out this is a certain anomaly.
Because you always bring up the homo factor. There's always the gay thing thrown in. You're for NAMBLA, for those who have never heard Creepy Ted before.
Well, isn't this an anomaly in the law that if a kid is mature enough to kill someone, but a kid isn't mature enough at 13 to have sex with, say, a 21-year-old?
No, because if you kill someone, I don't think you're going to be rehabilitated. I think you're a murderer, and then somebody's dead and gone and forever, and I don't think that kids should be having sex with adults.
Yeah, but the law says he's mature enough to be tried as an adult if he murders, but he's not mature enough to be considered an adult.
Why do you care if children can have sex with adults?
I'm just pointing out that the law is irrational here, and it's
murder
irrational.
Is murder.
What?
Murder is murder. If a 5-year-old shot someone I know and loved, I'd want them put away in prison.
You want them in a wood chopper?
Chip them. Spray them out, chip them, and spray them over Lake Erie. Feed the fish.
But then you're concerned if that same 5-year-old has a sex with an adult.
I'm not concerned. I don't want it to happen. That's for the protection.
I think putting a 5-year-old...
Laws are for the protection of the innocent.
I think putting
laws are to protect innocent people from murderers and rapists and people like you who like to wiggle your wand around in front of some little child, you sicko.
I don't want to put a 5-year-old...
You sick bastard. Please refrain from calling my program ever again God is Love.
At Pavilion with female fans.
Chicks just dig Wills, Webster, and Coleman.
Weekday mornings 5 till 9 on News Radio WTAM 1100.
Fatboy Slim is in hell.
1100 Cleveland. Rick Gilmore.
Taking you up until Dreamland at midnight. Channel 3 weather from Mark Nolan. Currently 74. Tonight should dip down to about 63. And keep wearing them shorts if you're going out someplace, I guess. Tomorrow, sunny and 80. That sounds pretty nice, doesn't it? Well, I think we'll get Tom Moore in here after the top of the hour. He was there in Medina County at the explosion and find out what happened out there when a steam engine apparently blew up, killing 3 and injuring dozens. And they were sent to local hospitals. I guess it was kind of overflowing in Medina. I guess they were sending some children to hospital or people to hospitals in Akron and other areas. Yeah, something like this happens, and make sure remember to be careful when you go to fairs and events and racetracks. And we're always hearing about something like this happens once in a while, and I think just keep your distance sometimes would be a good idea. It's not always a good idea. If there was an unexploded bomb found in your backyard, I'd call somebody. If you want to see somebody else blow up, stand back a ways. But don't be picking at it yourself. It's like a scab or something. Leave it alone. Dante, you're on the air.
This is Dante.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I was talking to a guy out in Youngstown. I represent a boiler company.
Okay, all right.
We manufacture steam and hot water boilers. But I was talking to one of my customers out in Youngstown, and his hobby is to rebuild these old tractors, these old steam tractors from the turn of the century.
Okay.
And he was showing me one of the tractors that he was rebuilding, And, I was pretty amazed by the machinery and the workmanship, and I said, boy, I bet these are hard to come by. And he told me, he said, no, actually, Ohio is a bit of a dumping ground for these tractors because most states in the union require that these machines be inspected and approved before they're taken to state fairs for shows.
Ah, so the state of Ohio does not make you do that.
Ohio does not get involved with any inspection, so therefore we get these tractors here, and they can't be rebuilt or approved somewhere else. They come to these shows, and so therefore an accident like this was inevitable.
So maybe the state of Ohio should look into joining the other states, saying, you couldn't very well go about putting a boiler in somebody's apartment building if you were not qualified, could you?
No, and the state inspects every boiler that's in apartment buildings.
But they don't inspect steam engines sitting out where children can be playing around at fairgrounds.
Where these things are 100 years old.
That's true.
It just doesn't make sense. And it's just too bad, where we're always concerned, where government is always poking their fingers where they should and getting, we're over government. Here there just is not enough...
You wouldn't want your grandmother wearing a 100-year-old bra now, would you?
Exactly.
There could be an explosion.
Just like we got tonight. It's a shame.
Put an eye out with those things. All right. Thanks for the input.
Thanks.
Yeah, I did not know that. I was not aware that the state of Ohio does not make the people that rebuild these tractors get them inspected. Aren't they supposed to be qualified? I suppose a lot of these guys are really good mechanics. But then again, even really good mechanics that work on airplanes screw up and something falls off and people plunge into the sea and die. So I guess what you should do is just stay home and never go anywhere. And then your house would fall in on you. In Johannesburg, Michigan, a restaurant collapsed, left about a dozen people hurt. A motorist drove into the side of the old depot. See, there's something old again. It's like them old steam engines. The old depot restaurant in Johannesburg, knocking down the building's main support structure. That caused the roof to collapse, trapping customers and workers. 3 children, including a baby and 1 adult, were in critical condition. The driver of the car was not seriously injured. Maybe he was drunk. You ever notice drunk people can go around and run into all kinds of things and they're so rubbery they don't get hurt? Except for the one guy my parents' neighbor told me about. He lived on a street off Rocky River Drive that's no longer there now. And they heard a big crash, and they went out there, and here's this guy they find a car wrapped around a pole and teeth and blood all over the front seat. All of a sudden, someone's tapping him on the back going, hey, Bubby, could you, Bubby? And the guy's upper lip and mustache are hanging down over his lower lip. And he's trying to push the car off of the telephone pole so he can drive it away. The man had been drinking, clearly intoxicated, fits into the 7%, the keg category. How much beer you drink on our cyber vote at WTAM.com. 7% of you drink a keg on the weekend. Well, now, I don't know as if I suppose I'd probably fit into the 16% that says the 12-pack category. Because I like to go out on Saturday nights. And do you include Friday night as the weekend? I do. So if you had a few beers here and a few beers there, that could add up, right? And so I probably fit into the case category, 13% of you. Keg, it seems a little much. I don't think I could hold that much. Hi, Eric, you're on the big one.
Rick.
Yes, sir.
How you doing tonight?
Great.
I just want to comment on that ignorant NAMBLA member that called you a moment ago.
Oh, Creepy Ted.
Creepy Ted with 128 IQ.
Yeah, he claims he's an intelligent guy.
I beg to differ. It doesn't take any intelligence to realize common sense says child having sex with an adult takes manipulation psychologically. Nathaniel Brazil took a gun to school under his own direction and had no input from an adult. There's a big difference there, and I think NAMBLA man just doesn't understand that, maybe.
Well,
so I doubt that.
I know that, yeah. He's a bit of an oddball.
Well, just that it takes the manipulation from an adult to have sex with a child.
I think if a 13 or 14-year-old has the wherewithal to get a gun, carry it into a school, and shoot and kill somebody, I think they should be put in prison like an adult. They should be put in a juvenile facility until they're an adult, and then moved into an adult facility for them to live out their days.
Exactly. They had conscious thought to do an adult act. No child goes to an adult and says, I want to have sex as a child. So I think he really missed it there, and I hope he isn't home blowing his own horn, thinking he got one over on the rest of us out here, that we weren't rationalizing that.
Actually, they should wait until the kid's an adult and then execute him.
Well, so be it. If they did the crime, they're obviously conscious thought.
I mean, do we think that the Bible, when it said an eye for an eye, that they said there was a difference between it applying to 18-year-olds, 21-year-olds, or 13-year-olds?
No stipulation made there.
A murderer is a murderer. It does not say thou shalt not kill, but if you're under 15 or 18 or 21, you get special treatment.
That's it, Rick.
Yeah, it's just common sense, and we're loaded with that in Cleveland. You know that.
Did you get that house yet in Cleveland, or did you buy elsewhere?
No, I bought a house in Cleveland. I am a Clevelander.
What ward?
I don't even know that, but and I don't want to get too specific, just because I've learned my lesson by making my life an open book. Sometimes you don't want other people reading.
Well, I know you were looking in the 130th area, so you're over here with us, and it's good to have you. If you're in Cleveland, it's good to have you.
I'm in the west side of Cleveland, I will say that. All right,
good, Gilly. Keep up the good.
All right, yeah, and I thought it was important. I felt compelled, because I could have bought a house in the suburbs, a cheap, beat-up old house probably, but you can get more house in the city, and I thought I should live in the city. I thought, we're moving. We keep moving. When we moved the radio station, now I sit around and complain all the time about Boss White and what's going on in the city of Cleveland and this, that, and the other thing. And it seems to me that if that's the case, well, then I should probably be living in the city of Cleveland. Doesn't that make sense? I'm going to run off and check my email if you'd like to email me, Gilly@WTAM.com. Please, no fancy attachments, because I just delete them. The system will not let me open them anyway. And why waste your time to write something that says ha, 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 with a paperclip next to it? I know viruses when I see them. That looked like viruses to me. I just delete them. But I do so much like the nice messages. In fact, I got someone mailed me one about how they drove back and forth to Florida and what an ordeal that was. Never again. The accidents happen. I'll take my chances. I'll fly a plane. If you're on the line, be patient. I'll get to you. Stay tuned for news coverage of what in the world's happening with our very own Cliff Bakley.
Bulletins at 1. News Radio, WTAM 1100.
Is that Gilmore again?
Yeah.
Guy's got a lot of intensity.
I'll bet. Phone number here, 578-1100 in the 216 area code. Toll free, 888-723-WTAM. Apparently the death count is now up to 4 in Medina County when a steam engine.
1100.
There are also dozens injured. At the beginning of the program, my friend Jerry the plumber called and explained what happens with water. It expands when you have steam under pressure. If there is a leak, it all of a sudden wants to take up 40 times the area that it had occupied previously. So thusly, if you imagine 10 gallons of water now become 400 gallons of area of water that it wants to fill inside of a cast iron 100-year-old steam engine, kablooey. I mean, it's very sad. The power of steam, the power of mechanical things, there's no question. Jerry the plumber said, who, by the way, ladies, is available, and of Icelandic descent, said that there's no question what will happen. If you have water boiling on the stove, it boils at 212. Well, you could have a temperature of 220 inside a sealed vessel. Then they peter off a little bit of that steam here and there to power the steam engine or to power whatever they're moving with this thing. Well, if they get a leak and all of a sudden it goes atmospheric, now whatever water was in there boiling at a higher temperature turns to steam kablam. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's going to do it. It's going to do it no matter what. Dan and Medina, you're on the big one.
Rick.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir?
Great.
Good. Hey, I was thinking about Creepy Ted. Wouldn't be a bad idea to do a public service announcement on him. Track his phone number on the caller ID, see if we could put it to an address, and, over the airways say, hey, Creepy Ted lives in your neighborhood. Watch out for your kids, your 5-year-olds. The guy's kitty porn guy, and wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, I think, in fact, it's like, I finally saw one of those, and I don't even know exactly what they are, but there was one of those funny license plates, one of those ones that was like all red. And I was thinking, is that for like, it didn't say what it was on there, but it was an Ohio tag. Was that for like a DUI offender or somebody, or a juvenile DUI? I don't know what it was for. Somebody out there, a cop knows, they'll call and tell me. That's what we ought to have for Creepy Ted. That way people can know when they see him, hey, Creepy Ted lives in my neighborhood. Break out a box of rocks and throw them through his windows.
That's it, yeah. Hey, Creepy Ted, if you're still listening, you need to throw away your kiddie porn magazines. I mean, get rid of them, man. You're demented.
That's there. Amen and hallelujah. I won't have any callers who have pages stuck together. I will not have it. Joined in the studio by one of our esteemed newsmen, Tom Moore. How do you like to follow that call? I'm sure you know.
Yeah, you can't follow some of these calls.
Oh, I know. You know what makes me happy?
What's that, Rick?
Some of the creepy people that you talk to on the radio, you're just glad you don't live next door to them.
How do you know you don't?
Well, I'm just assuming I don't. I don't know. I'm moving, too, so I might be. Who knows?
Well,
I guess we'll find out. What's the latest on what happened out at Medina?
We got, it's officially 4 dead now. 30, I think that would make it down to 35 wounded. These people are in hospitals all over. I mean, they've got them in Akron, they've got them in Cleveland, they've got them in Wadsworth. I mean, they're all over Northeast Ohio. Some of them in Medina General Hospital. It's just amazing. People with varying degrees of injuries. People were cut by shrapnel. People were burned by the
hot oil.
By the hot oil that used to lubricate the steam engine. People burned by the boiling water that was built up in there. Did I hear you that one of your callers said that the steam is 40 times the pressure of just the water alone?
What happens is if you have a pot of water boiling on the stove, it's at 212. Now, under pressure in a vessel, it could be 220. Well, if you have, say, 10 gallons of water in that vessel, when it reaches atmosphere, when there's a break in the vessel, now it wants to become 40 times. Every drop of water wants to become 40 times what it was. So say if there were 100 gallons of water in there, it now thinks it's 4,000 gallons that has to come out right now.
I'm going to give you a description of what it looked like. It looked like somebody had just taken this thing as if it were made out of paper and just ripped it apart. That's what this thing looked like.
Well, you were there.
Yeah. I mean, I walked around and I saw...
Was this a locomotive or a stationary steam engine?
It's a stationary steam engine being hauled by a tractor that best guess would be about 100 years old or so. And they have this display. It's a static display, so they don't run during the fair. It was being hauled in by a Medina County man who owned it. And apparently it was during that operation. It looked like it was already in place, and maybe he hadn't shut it down yet at this point in time.
Was he one of the fatalities?
It's more than likely he was one of the fatalities. Sheriff Hassinger is not confirming that at this point, but it's pretty likely that he was one of the fatalities.
It's a horrible thing to happen, and anytime you go to a fair or an event, something like... Now, one of the callers mentioned that in Ohio, there are no regulations. That Ohio is literally a dumping grounds for old steam engines because they don't regulate what happens to these things before they go and are put on display.
Yeah, I don't know of any kind of inspections that come around. The Department of Agriculture is big on inspecting the fair rides. We all know that because they go around to every little community festival, every street corner carnival, things like that. And you know somebody from the Department of Agriculture has inspected those rides.
Right.
They're there at Cedar Point, they're there at Six Flags, same thing. But yeah, on something like this...
And not even the larger... I've been to smaller fairs, not even a county fair, just a smaller little carnival.
Yeah.
Some of the rides tip.
Yeah.
They tip off the ground. And you ever seen some of them carnies, one of them rides?
Yeah.
You want one of them guys with your life in your hands?
Yeah.
I see them in bars once in a while. You can always tell. 3, 4, 5 of them walk in and everybody else gets up and leaves. It's not that they smell, they just look like they might. And then they usually drink too much and start some sort of a fight. And so those people are controlling your tilt-a-wheel. So you never know what can happen, and like I say, it's a tragedy what happened out there. And I'm just hoping that if that is the case in the state of Ohio, that, I mean, they regulate boilers in apartment buildings. They come around and make sure that you're licensed to operate one.
Right.
Apparently, if you're a mechanic and you want to put together an old steam engine, there are no regulations from what I hear.
That's going to be one of those things that we're going to have to be checking into during the daytime tomorrow when the appropriate government offices are open.
And you know this always happens, too. Now they will do something about it.
Yeah.
Well, there's 4 lost souls.
Exactly.
And we might lose more. We don't know.
We don't know because some of these people are in pretty bad shape because we've got a lot of them are in Children's Hospital in Akron or Metro Health because of the burn units.
Oh,
and
I
so
got
you know some of these people got burned pretty badly.
Well, you can overwhelm a smaller community with an accident like this, and you end up with just dozens of people injured all at once, and you just don't have room for them.
Well, my whole thought is that it's like the Medina County Fair. This is the second year in a row we've had problems there because you had the problem last year with the people getting sick from the E. coli bacteria, and now you got this.
Yeah. But
they're going to keep the fair going, though. Well, the fair will be open.
I'm curious to see what the attendance records will be next year. 3rd time's the charm. First people had the runs, now people are dying. What's it going to be next year? Don't you normally work in the morning?
Yes, I do.
With Wells, Webster, and Coleman?
This was one of my, I'm the poor soul, and I'm going to say, I make up the on-call schedule for the weekends.
Oh, I got you.
Well, guess what? I was on call today.
So you got to be back tomorrow morning?
No, Darren Thompson are doing a flip-flop, I've found out. So Darren's going to be the one, poor soul coming in at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to come in and work the afternoon shift.
So Bob Becker's going to be in for Bill Wills next week?
Bob Becker will be in for Bill Wills. That's a definite because Wills is on vacation.
And then the week after that?
We have heard. We've heard a couple of different names being tossed around.
Really?
Yeah.
Mine being one of them?
Yeah, yours is one of them. The other one we keep hearing tossed around is some guy, a guy named Monday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how true that is.
If some guy named Monday were knocking on your door and standing on your steps, would you push down Monday, or would you push him down, or would you wait until later?
It depends on whether the camera's rolling, I guess.
All right. Well, thank you very much, newsman extraordinaire Tom Moore, keeping us up to date on what's going on out there in Medina. And, of course, we'll keep it right here on the big one because we'll keep you on top of the stories if anything else changes and breaks. Unfortunately, 4 people lost in that explosion out there. Channel 3 weather from Mark Nolan tonight, cloudy 63 for a low. Tomorrow, high 80, not bad. Currently 72. I'm getting to the point where I can feel the weather change. I'm getting to the point where I walk outside for a cigarette and I think, you know what? It's going to be cooler when Cliff next reports the temperature out because I can feel it. But it's still awfully nice outside. Joe in Northfield, talk to me.
Hey, Joe.
No, you're Joe. I'm Rick.
I know that.
Oh.
No, I said this is Joe.
Hey, man.
Ricky.
Yeah.
This is your prophet.
Yes.
This is your guru.
Yes.
I was the one that, you know.
You were the one that said someday I'd be on the big one.
That's right.
And here I am.
And here I am in Northfield.
Yeah, well, is that...
North Ridgeville. No, Northfield.
Is that a bad thing? Do you used to live in North Ridgeville? Now you've moved to Northfield. Do you enjoy...
You know what? They're basically the same.
Oh, I see.
But anyway, while I've been on hold, I've been watching my cat chase his tail. And I think that's what we're doing. We're just chasing our tail.
You mean collectively as a whole?
Collectively. It's all going to hell, my friend.
You mean all of humankind? We're chasing our tail.
It's going to hell, Rick.
Oh, I don't know. I have faith, and that's all faith is. All you can do is have faith in a higher power that's smarter than we are.
Well, when I saw my cat chasing his tail, I was wondering how your married life's going.
Oh, actually, it's going along swimmingly. At some point, I said to my wife, because she seemed to have changed, I said, do you feel that since we have a marriage certificate now and we're married, that you can become a mean, bitchy person? And she apologized.
See?
She's under a lot of stress.
You signed that contract.
We need a new roof. We had a lot of things to... See, we have a lot of things to worry about. Now we have to worry about steam engines blowing up.
And you turned 40, right?
I turned 40, yeah.
Uh-oh. You're in trouble now.
That's only halfway to 80. My plumbing still works.
I said 10 years ago.
My plumbing still works. That's my big concern. Of course, nowadays they have salves and creams and injections, so if it didn't work, I'd fix it.
It's all going to hell.
A glass rod.
Can I give you a suggestion?
I guess, sure.
Don't have kids.
I'm not planning on having any kids.
Do not have children.
Well, that'd be more things to worry about.
Exactly. You'll go nuts.
I have to... How about this story? A Memphis man said he'll continue his 50-year quest to move his brother. His brother was buried in the same casket as another soldier in Kentucky. They were buried together in 1949 after their bodies were discovered. They died in the same plane when it was shot down over Germany during World War II. This guy's been trying for 52 years to get his brother moved to the family cemetery.
I bet that was a sticky situation.
God, I mean, how do you put 2 people? I mean, is it one big casket, like for a fat guy?
Unless it's Trevisano.
Or they just lay them in on top of each other or something.
Hey, to be serious, though.
Oh, yeah.
My dad passed away in December.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he had lung cancer.
Mm-hmm.
He was 68, and he partied. He had a good time. And when he was on his deathbed, basically, I asked him, I said, Dad, did you have a good time? And he looked at me and he said, yeah, I had a good time. And he died in Marymount. And it took him 8 months.
Did he quit smoking?
No, he smoked right up to the end.
Because I was thinking, if somebody told you you're dying of lung cancer, I know people that quit. I'm thinking, well, why are they quitting?
Well, he finally enjoyed 2 years of Florida in the wintertime with my mother. And when they came back in April last year, and he was diagnosed. And then, last year he fought it and he went through all the chemo and all that. But anyway, make a long story short, and I love my dad dearly. But I asked him on his deathbed, I said, did you have a good time? And he said, yeah, I had a good time. And I said, Dad, you're not going to miss anything. And he said, yeah, I know. And that's, pretty much the curse that he left on me at my age right now. I'm 47.
Oh, listen to Trevisano. He's 50, and he says he's now on the back 9. And he's happy about it. He's glad that he's at the age that he is. And I'm thinking, I'm fighting all the way. When I'm 50, I'll wish I was 40. I mean, I don't like the aging process.
Well, it is tough, and if you have children, my friend, it's unbelievable what's going on right now. And I've got to get up tomorrow morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 6, be downtown to drive my truck back and forth across Cleveland, the 200 miles a day, just around Cleveland, and I see the crap that goes on. It's unbelievable. And
it's a changing world, and it always will be.
Good night, Rick.
All right, good night. Yeah, just imagine. I mean, just think back, and I saw a list of that. In fact, I should grab that literature. I have it at home. It was on board ship. They had the schedule every day, and one day it said if you're 45 years old or older, all of the things that were not around when you were born. And it's amazing. If you look back just 45, and I thought, gee, I wish they would have had one for 40. I mean, I could have looked at that and said, oh, okay, I can relate. But to think back, I mean, when I was a little kid, they had color TV. We didn't have one until about 1970. And convertibles didn't have to have roll bars. And cigarettes were $0.25 a pack. And you were allowed to pump your own gas, but who did? Somebody else did that for you. Things have changed. Have they changed for the better? I think older people, and I hate to include myself in older people, but a lot of people resist change and look at it and don't like it. And you know what? You better learn to like it because it ain't stopping to wait for you.